In the last couple of years, the Balenciaga runners and the 3XLs have been my most watched reviews. I still get a lot of questions about both of these sneakers, so in this video, I'm going to compare the runners to the 3XLs. I'm going to talk about the design, comfort, sizing, and I'll give you a recommendation of which I think you should pick up. So both the runners and the 3XLs have been popular models for Balenciaga over the last few years. The runners were first introduced in the Winter 21 show. I first picked up the all black pair and then I got the multicolored one. For a while, these were my go-to sneakers and I wore them with almost every fit, especially in the summer. Fast forward a few years and the 3XLs were released. So these were first shown at the Summer 23 show, the infamous Mud show back in late 2022. I also picked these up in two colors over time. So first I got the black and white version and then I picked up the all white pair. Since getting these, I have worn my runners a lot less than before, and there's a few reasons why I gravitate to this one more than the runners, and we'll cover that in a minute. Both of these shoes have a unique design, but they're not really similar in terms of how they look. The runners are more of a Frankenstein shoe. The design of this is basically a deconstructed vintage running shoe, and they come in a pre-distressed, worn-in kind of look, with a lot of the parts being unfinished. If you look all throughout this, you can see some of the glue marks, some distressing, and some rough edges around it. They also look like they feature parts of older Balenciaga models. For example, the back of the sole looks like it has the Track 2 design. Overall, it has more of a layered look, so a lot of these panels are stacking on top of each other. The newer version does come with a slightly different design on the side, so it's more of a rounded kind of design, which is rumored to be because the original version was too close to the A6 design. These come in a bunch of different colors. Personally, I feel like this multicolored version looks the best. They also released an all gray version a couple years ago that I think looks good too. Overall, these are a lot more structured than the 3XLs. So the 3XLs are a lot more scaled back in terms of design. They have this mesh pattern that goes all throughout it, and they also have this paneling that can be seen all throughout the shoe. They also come with this extra pair of laces tied on the front, which adds some interest to the shoe, makes it stand out from other shoes, but they are also a pain because they have fallen off in the past. This one does have it tied on, but I retied this, but on this one they did fall off and I don't know where they are. So it is a cool look, but not really practical for everyday wear. These have more of a wide, flat silhouette, so you can see how flat it is compared to the runners, hence why it's called the 3XLs. These also come in a bunch of different colors, and it looks like they're still releasing new colors to this day. They also have ones with different materials, so more lightweight materials than this, even though this is already lightweight. At the time of release, they did have a version that came pre-distressed with mud, and there was a lot of hype around that sneaker, but personally I like the monochromatic look instead. I just tend to like the blacks, whites, and grays a little more. But in terms of design, I definitely have to give it to the runners. There's so much detail that went into this shoe, not something you typically see, and it is so unique for a sneaker. So looking at the materials, runners feature a multi-layered mesh and synthetic upper, and the sole is rubber. These were designed to appear aged or distressed. You can see some of the distressing all throughout, including some of the pockets of glue throughout the shoe. The 3XLs are made out of a mesh and polyurethane material, and since it has less paneling, it's a bit more breathable than the runners. And the sole is also made out of rubber material with some distressing all throughout. In terms of durability, both seem pretty durable, being my most worn sneakers over the last few years. I will say a piece of the runner's sole did fall off the more I wore it. This is more of an unfinished shoe, so it's more likely that these would get messed up, and the 3XLs have more of a finished design, so think that those would outlast the runners in the long run. So in terms of durability, I'd probably give it to the 3XLs. So both of these are fairly comfortable shoes. I think because they both have mesh, keeps it super breathable and make it feel lightweight on foot, but I will say that the 3XLs are way more comfortable. I think it's because they have that larger, wider sole and less paneling all throughout it, so that makes it a bit more lightweight and more breathable. So in terms of comfort, I'm definitely gonna give it to the 3XLs. So in both of these, I did size down as I typically do in Balenciaga. In regular shoes, I'm a true to size 9.5. Since I have wide feet, I sometimes size up to a 10. In Balenciaga, I tend to go with 42, which is US 9. These sneakers only come in full sizes, so whatever your typical Balenciaga size is, just go with that size. If you haven't purchased a Balenciaga shoe before, these I would recommend just sizing down by one. So both of these retail around $1,100 US, but it can vary based on the model. For example, the runners with the graffiti or the 3XLs with the chains run a little higher. But since these are such a popular shoe, you can find them on sale, but it may be a little hard to find your exact size. So if I was deciding today, I'd look for a few things. First off, the colorway. Could you see yourself getting a lot of wear out of a specific color? Does it go with the rest of the items in your wardrobe? But this really shouldn't be too much of a problem because both of these sneakers come in a bunch of different colorways. It really just depends on your preference. Second thing I'd look for is comfort. How often do you plan on wearing them? Could you see yourself wearing them a lot? Do you see them as a daily sneaker? Let's say you live in a walk-in city, you probably want something a little bit more comfortable. And if that's the case, I would definitely go with the 3XLs. And then the last thing I'd consider is style preference. They both are pretty unique in terms of how they look, and I'd say they're pretty versatile too, but the silhouettes are very different. So if you prefer more of that classic trainer silhouette, you could go for the runners. But if you want something a little bit more unique and more out there, I'd say go for the 3XLs. But while both of these are good options, if I was gonna pick one up today, I would go with the 3XLs. 3XLs. I just think they're so unique. They could be styled with a lot more in my wardrobe, including more wide baggy pants, because they have that larger sole at the bottom, so it kind of catches your pants from dragging on the floor. And in general, they're just a lot more comfy to wear. These have definitely been my most worn sneaker. I've been wearing them so much since getting them. I've honestly stopped wearing the runners since picking them up, and it's not because they were a newer shoe, because I've picked up sneakers after the 3XLs and I still go back to the 3XLs. So for me, I'll go with the 3XLs, but at the end of the day, it does come down to personal preference. If you want a full in-depth review, I have both of these reviews on my channel. They are a bit older, but what I mentioned in each video is still valid. So if you need more info, just go check out the reviews. So let me know in the comments which one y'all are thinking about picking up. But as always, appreciate y'all watching. Like the video, subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one.